This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Okay, let's always wrap up this Diddy trial. Well, today. Yeah, it's not gonna be as salacious as it was before. But it says so. You know, they already talked about how much money was paid out for these videos. This could be another charge. Diddy's getting rid of evidence. He's there is some fault in paying for a video to disappear. So anyways, they redirect. They just say notify the company to allow company to prevent disclosure. Then they break from this witness. Garcia is dismissed. Then they pick it back up. And Diddy, okay, so in the latest thing before we go through the testimony, Diddy and SDNY Magistrates Court AUSA pushing for detention of Gonzalez, saying he was arrested with spider glassins and $60,000 in apartment. As only media here, inner city press will tweet an open thread. I don't even know who this is, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, and they showed pictures of Eddie Garcia with a bag of cash. All right, so, geez, why is this? Okay, here we go. Hold on, let me go up a little bit. I'll start right here. All right, so rethread. It says, bring the jury back out. AUSA, the government says, I'm going to enter a stipulation into evidence. During a search at a Miami airport, law enforcement seized 2 cell phones from Christina Corum's person. So was she arrested or just a search? Okay. It says, publish that for the jury. It says 24 contacts, including Eddie My Angel. They actually locked the guy in, Eddie My Angel, the Garcia guy from the hotel. Okay, so then it says, we are entering it into evidence records from Signature Bank. Any objection? No. With that, the government calls Derek Ferguson. How do I know Mr. Combs? How do you know Mr. Combs? I worked for him from 1998 to 2017. What was your role? CFO. So he was CFO of Bad Boy. How were your bonuses determined? Company results and my performance. Were you responsible for managing Mr. Combs' personal finances? Yes, at the times during my tenure. Who was your supervisor? Sometimes Mr. Combs himself. How often did you interact with Mr. Combs? A few times a week. Later became more of a chairman for the company. How did you communicate with him? Back then, it was just pagers. So he'd be on a personal pager with Puff. Then they says, who's Uncle Polly? Who is this? And he says, Uncle Polly. And these individuals, and he talks about Roger Bonds, D-Rock, they were security. What was Mr. Combs the sole owner? Yes, 100% of Bad Boy Productions and Films. What was his role? Who's who? Uncle Polly? Mr. Combs sole owner, 100% of Bad Boy Films. What was his role? Marketing. Wait a minute. They must be missing a line. Okay, so anyways. Creative and marketing. Did some ventures have partners? Bad Boys with Arista. Also with Warner, Sean John Clothing had a partner. What were the profits? Very profitable, he says. How was Mr. Combs paid? Sometimes salary, sometimes distributions from the companies. What is distribution? If solely owned or passed through like an S-corp, the owner determines to draw down. Did each have a bank account? Yes. Could you sign on the accounts? Yes. Which accounts did Mr. Combs have companies use? Citibank, HSBC, and Signature Bank. Which is this one? Janice Combs Music Incorporated. It furnished his name and likeness. Mr. Ferguson, are these your initials in Section 4? Yes. It's 92909. Is this also a business checking account? Yes, and this one with Diageo and Ciroc. How was the account funded? Inflows, the gentleman says. And he says, what are the credit cards? What about credit cards? He said, primarily American Express expense reimbursements. Did Mr. Combs have an Amex? Yes. Did he use it for personal use as well as professional? Yes. And the companies paid? Yes. How was outgoing cash handled? We had a petty cash account, cash advances, for example, for those traveling who don't have an American Express card. When Mr. Combs was paid in cash, how did it work? We'd match it in a contract. We'd match it if there was a contract. Were you aware of Mr. Combs' security staff carrying cash for him? I was not aware of that. And when you were responsible for his personal finances, what did you do? I budgeted for the year. Properties, government asks? Inflows, now flows. What properties did he own? The Hamptons, New York, Miami. They were held in LLCCs. That means LLCs. For anonymity. Anonymous. To be anonymous. Tongue twister. Liability reduction and tax benefits. Government. Did you oversee other personal accounts of Mr. Combs? Yes. Were you aware of him supporting other people? Yes, from his personal earnings. Your Honor, this might be a good place for us to take our break. How much more from this witness? 20 minutes. We think the Jane starting late tomorrow. We expect 2 days of her cross-examination. Jane? So there's a Jane Doe. Only Mr. Ferguson today? Yes. And Mr. Angolfino's cross goes long. We may stay late. Okay. Break. They're back. Combs used lawyer Jason Driscoll. This exhibits a full hearsay. I have a gist. Miss Foster, you're saying none of this is the truth. Huh? None of this is for the truth. Yes, this is excludable hearsay. Oh, it's not excludable hearsay. The objection is overruled. How are we going to on the compilation video? We still object on it, the defense says. But the compilation is put together. Yes. Government. We would like some material to be taken down and other relief. They bring the witness back. The government says, all right, so before the break, we were discussing these bank records. What is 207 Anderson LLC? It says Mr. Combs' property in Alpine, New Jersey. What is the mailing address? 1710 Broadway. 207 Anderson. So does he still have this property? 207 Anderson, Alpine, New Jersey. Is that the address? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's nice. Nice. Puffy's got a lot of money, man, as we know. What are these? So then it says, what are these internal transfers? 190,000, 575,000, 100,000, December 11th. Who does? What are these internal transfers? He said so. He listed a couple money transfers. Then the government asked, who decided whether to initiate or internal transfer? Usually the controller. Do you remember these? No. And the outward transfer, to whom did it go to? Cassandra Ventura. For how much? 20,000. And the one incoming, Roderick Ventura, 20,000. Oh my gosh. So this is the one where the dad was sending in that money so the videos wouldn't get leaked. And they made it look like it went to Cassie. When did you leave the CFO position? The end of 2012. The Chief Growth Officer, the Revolt Media TV. Oh, sorry, it bounced down. All right, hold on one sec. Okay, Revolt Media TV. Okay, so he moved on to work at Revolt at that time. After you left, how often did you communicate with Mr. Combs? He texted me in 2024. I don't remember the day. Let me show you. I see. Nothing further. Mr. Angolfino. Diddy's lawyer says, you grew up in the Bronx. Where'd you go to high school? He said, Stuyvesant. Where did you go to business school? Harvard MBA, 1990. Then BMG Music Group? Yes. They ran over 100 music labels worldwide. Then they own Arista. 50% of Bad Boy Records at a certain period of time. Could Mr. Combs then do whatever he wanted? No, there were Arista agreements. Coming from the Bronx, I thought I needed more companies that would hire people from the community. I saw that in Mr. Combs. I thought it was a chance to have an impact. Combs' lawyer says, what was the onboarding? He said, an interview, met some at Arista. I met Benny, Medina, and others. Combs' lawyer says, so you didn't just meet Mr. Combs to get the job? He said, no. How did Bad Boy change from 1999 to 2012? It added other businesses, records, and it was getting competitive. Combs' lawyer says, do you remember Notorious LLC? He says, it was a magazine called Notorious. Combs' lawyer says, Bad Boy Records was established in 1993. He said, I think it was 1996. Did Bad Boy have connections to Interscope? He said, yes, and UMG, Rhino. Combs' lawyer says, who was Andre Harrell? He says, he founded Uptown Records, went to Motown, then back to Bad Boy. What was his spirits business called? What was the spirits business called? He says, eventually it was called Combs Wines and Spirits. It was involved in the start of the relationship with Diageo. Combs' lawyer says, what issues arose with Diageo? They object. Were there differences about how to market? There's always differences of opinion. We had conversations how to drive it more. Was the brand everywhere like competitors? Then they do a sidebar. They come back. Combs' lawyer says, were you concerned that Diageo was marketing Ciroc primarily in certain areas to certain people? Ferguson says, my opinion. And then Combs' lawyer says, on your personal knowledge, he says, the distribution was highly concentrated. The question was why. It's who's gonna. That's who it's being marketed to. It doesn't, it seems bad, right? But that's how a company just looks at it. Urban. I don't know why. It's just how they do it. You'd have to make a conscious effort to market it to a different crowd. Diageo was marketing it to more urban areas than more broadly. Okay, what about Revolt? It was owned by Highbridge Capital Management, which was purchased by JP Morgan Chase. Oh. So then Ferguson says, I think so. Highbridge had 2 seats. Combs' lawyer says, yes, 2 or 5 seats on Revolt. What were you at Revolt? He says, Chief Operating Officer, COO. Angolfino says, what did that entail? He says, finance and production. And then this is why Revolt went nowhere. You don't take your CFO and put him in a, operating position at a TV network. He's not from that. He's from finance, And Sean Combs wasn't in management, right? They say he was not. And then Combs' lawyer says, look at DX 1901 about Combs Enterprises. Let's put that up, a redacted version. He says, here you have James Cruz and the HR officer after Bashta Wilson, Andre Harrell, and yourself. And then Ferguson says, that is the team. Combs' lawyer says, what is digital? Ferguson says, Angolfino says, your pause says enough. Personal versus business expenses. What's your accounting background? He says, I was a CPA for a time. You lose your CPA if you don't renew it. That's why. Angolfino says, you never saw Mr. Combs sitting and reviewing his Amex bill? He says, no. And then Combs' lawyer says, when was a partnership with another company? They would look at the books as well, right? And Ferguson said yes. And Golfino says, many high people of professional assistants. Yes. He says, Ferguson says they do. And Golfino says, security was part of this business? He says yes. And Golfino, which is Combs' lawyer, says security's job was to be in close proximity of Mr. Combs so that no one would do something dangerous to him, right? He says, right. Then he says, let's talk about cash. What was the cash receipt from? What is this used for? He said, for example, touring. Then they do a sidebar. And then he says, did you see anyone help Sean Combs commit crimes? He says, no. Did you see anyone make a company stronger through coercion? He says, can you explain that one? What do you mean by coercion? Combs' lawyer says, fair enough. Through sexual abuse or trafficking? He says, no. You were there 19 years. How hard was it? He says, building from scratch, long hours. Combs' lawyer says, did you send Mr. Combs a text in 2017? And he says, I don't remember. He says, I'll show you. He says, did you tell Mr. Combs you learned so much from him? He says, oh, yes, I did. He pushed the entire team. He had passion. He says, you're a religious man? And then they object. You're on the board of a charter school. He says, yes. That's Diddy's charter school. Combs' lawyer says, the school tries to work with at-risk children? Objection. Oh, they're trying to, they don't want Diddy to seem nice or a good guy at all. And Golfino says, do you think highly of Mr. Combs? He says, I don't know how to respond to that. They sidebar. Nothing further. Okay. Redirect. Was Revolt, and this is the government, was Revolt entirely separate from Revolt TV? Yes. What? Revolt Films. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. That's another thing. That they're not going to go into detail here. I only know this because I did some TV stuff. So, MTV can't develop shows. There has to be an MTV. It's a stupid rule, but there's like MTV Productions and MTV Films, right? They can't mix. MTV Productions has to sell the show to MTV. There's a stupid thing that all these companies get around. So it's like Revolt Films will develop the shows for Revolt TV. Okay, that's why. On the ORG chart, who is the chairman? So Sean Combs on the org chart. Did you ever stay in a hotel with Mr. Combs? No. You see Christina Coran here? Yes. Do you see a name Mia? Development and acquisitions. Nothing further. Recross. Combs' lawyer says, you didn't go home or a hotel because that's his personal life, right? Objection. Sustained. Nothing further. Jurors, you may go. Boom. Jane tomorrow, and we want to avoid the type of incidents that happen with Mia. Oh, so this is going to be another person that was taken advantage of by Diddy tomorrow. Now, this will be juicy. We'll see what happens. There's nudity and all kinds of stuff in this one. They're talking about it here. Well, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Man, well, everything will get tied up next week, and we'll know why they called certain people in. This obviously had something to do with money and stuff like that. So, anyways, this is Jordan Tower with JT News. Smash that like button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace.